Hello once again. I thought I would talk about this. Recently I heard that the retailer Game, which is a high street shop that sells computer games, consoles, etc. Dedicated gaming shop for games. And I heard there's a few stores, or quite a lot of stores in fact, that's going to be closing down. So this just shows you that, it's going towards well, why this is happening, why these shops are closing down. Obviously, one, online stores, i.e. Amazon, are killing the high street. Secondly, gaming is going digital. Everything in the future is going to be digital downloads. How much a lot of people hate it, but for the new generation of gamers, I think they absolutely love it. Because I remember when I was working with a group of young people, in their early 20s, late teens, and some of them said they much prefer digital downloads. So that's the way I suppose it's going. I mean, the new generation wants the digital downloads, like the older school, like me in my mid-40s. Remember the 80s, when we used to go to the shops and pick up a game on cassette or disc, floppy disk, because that was the two mediums back in the day. It was either cassette tape or floppy disk, either 5¼ or 3½ inch, or 3" if you owned a Amstrad 466 CPC 464 like I did, but I didn't own a disk drive for it, or CPC 6128 or 664, because they used the 3" disc. I don't know why they went that route, but there you go. So we had either cassettes or floppy disks, but I'm not going to be talking about that because this is not what this video is about. It's about the gaming shops, or let's rewind back to the 1980s when I first got my Amstrad CPC 464, which everything was on cassette. My other mate at that time, he had a ZX Spectrum 48K. I had other mates that had a VIC-20, but later he got the Commodore 64, so I was playing on his Commodore 64 quite a lot. So that's how I got to know about the Commodore 64 and my Amstrad CPC 464 during the 80s. So how did we purchase these games? Well, we didn't have dedicated gaming shops, or not in Croydon anyway. Perhaps every town was different, or city, but in Croydon, as far as I know, back in the 1980s, I don't recall any gaming shops. I used to get my games either from WH Smith's or Boots. I think Woolworths done a few, if you remember Woolworths. It's usually the department stores, or the shops like Woolworths, and stationery shops like WH Smith's, where you buy everything stationery, sort of like a newsagent's, everything in one sort of thing, those sort of shops. And you actually had electronic retailers like Dixon's, Curry's, and shops like that sold the computers or the consoles. That's where you'd go to get your computers, like they share with hi-fi equipment, TVs, anything electrical, really. Anything electrical, like accessories like videotapes. I think they sold the odd music here and there, maybe the odd game, but they didn't really specialise. It was just a retailer selling the electrical equipment. Obviously that's where you bought your computers from. But that's how you bought computers, like department stores. Remember Alders? We had Alders in Croydon. That was somewhere else. They used to sell computers and TVs and etc. Your hi-fi systems. I think, yeah. So W.H. Smith's or Boots. I remember Boots in Croydon downstairs. You had sections and sections and sections of computer games. All were like, you had the Amstrad CPC 464 section because it had the orange. That's how you could tell. ZX Spectrum was in yellow, so you had another big section. Commodore 64 had another big section in red. So you can tell by the colours, that your machine. And you had a small section for VIC-20. You had a small section for Commodore 16, another small section for MSX, etc., etc. So they did try and tailor for all different computers. But the main three was Amstrad, Commodore 64, and Spectrum. They were the main three. I think you had a little section for BBC micros as well, but I didn't really tell because I was more focused looking at the Amstrad stuff because that's what I had back in the day. And my mate used to go around the corner and look at all the Commodore 64 stuff. Yeah, and sometimes I bought a game, he bought a game. What would you buy? I bought this. If we had a bit of money, like a tenner, we might buy a compilation pack or a full price game, which was $9.99 at the time. So we used to talk about, compare. Oh yeah, I got that. I got this. Yeah. Oh. Good times. They were good times. Days before the internet. Days where you had to get off your arse, get a bus somewhere. Get a bus because we had to get a bus because that was the days before the tram. Yeah, but it were good fun days. Good fun days going to the shops, just having a look at all these computer games. Take it to the checkout, and they open the drawers because they got to go and find the tape. Remember them days? I think they still do that. I think they still do that because I remember it was a few years when I had my PlayStation 3 where I bought a game. They had to look for the disc, or they just got out another. I think it was a full disc because I think they just put the covers out or something like that, and then they just put the cover back and just bring the cover. I don't know. I can't remember now. But yeah. But good fun days they were, really good fun days looking at all the computer games. I think sometimes they might have a computer set out, you can test it if you like it, but that was pretty rare. I don't think I ever done that back in the day. I just looked at what the cover looks like, the cover of the art on the screenshots, but usually you look at the screenshots, it might have been for Spectrum, or it was never the same screenshots half the time, or they have one for the Commodore, one for the Spectrum, one for the Amstrad. Yeah. So you took pot luck really, but it was the fun of it. It was the fun of it. The budget games, $2.99 in the full price, and in the middle as well. But I'm going off at a tangent already, and I'm supposed to be talking about computer shops, the dedicated computer game shops. There was one in Brighton, actually, of all places, in Brighton, when we was go to Brighton, go for a day out in Brighton, something like that. They had a really, really good gaming shop. I think it was the first dedicated gaming shop that I ever went to, and it was a really big place. I mean, they did everything. Now, I think they tailored for all computers. I think they sold parts and hardware and all that. This was in the late 80s. So you could get pretty much everything there. It was a great shop. I think obviously the consoles were coming. I don't know. I don't think the Mega Drive was out and the Super Nintendo was out at that point. No, they come out in the 90s. So I think they might have had the Master System and the Nintendo section. But it was massive. It was a brilliant shop. But unfortunately, it was all the way in Brighton, so I wasn't going to go there every day. So unless we went for a day out or something like that, because it was easy. Well, it was just one train to get there. Or I think when in the car sometimes. Someone used to take me in the car. Used to go in the car with parents and things like that. Yeah. But yeah, it was a great shop, massive shop, brilliant shop. And there was another one in Croydon when the Inn Shop was a place called the Inn Shops, where there are loads of little different shops inside this one big place, and they had a computer game shop. What's it called? Software Plus, wasn't it? About late 80s. This was late 80s, very early 90s. I remember buying some computer games in there, and they were sort of cheap. You know, they're cheaper, like the full price ones, you know, half price, because I think they just wanted to get rid of stock, you know, make way for the new stock, because this was the time when 8-bit gaming was, you know, it was still there, but the 16-bit gaming was sort of taking over at that point. Yeah, so that was another shop I remember. So yeah, that was the 80s. The 80s was great for you know, for computer games shopping, brilliant. There was another place called High Voltage. High Voltage, that wasn't around for long. I think it was a company that supplied computer parts, and I think they had shops around. And I think sometimes they had the computer games. It wasn't a big place for computer games, but there you had the few. They had the few, and they were really cheap as well. Yeah, something else I remember. So I think it was the 90s when we started seeing these dedicated gaming shops starting to appear, because gaming was getting bigger and bigger, more systems like the Super Nintendo, Sega Mega Drive, and Amiga, ST. You still had the 8 bits. There was loads of different like consoles, computers coming out at that point. So obviously the gaming shops started to appear. Just nothing but dedicated gaming shops. And obviously we had later on the Sega Saturn, the PlayStation, all came out, and you know, gaming was massive. But by then the internet just appeared. It just appeared, but the internet wasn't big. We were still going to the shops buying games. You know, we weren't buying nothing online. Well, I weren't anyway. I think you know, the queues always massively long. Everyone's buying the latest PlayStation game, you know. And there was me. By this time, the Amiga was. I had an Amiga by then, and that was dying out. You know, obviously the consoles were taking over, so you had the massive sections for PlayStation, massive sections for, I think, Nintendo. I don't know what was out. What was rivaling the PlayStation at that? Probably the Sega Saturn, wasn't it? There rose the Sega Saturn games. PC games were starting to make an impact. Yeah, PC games. Yeah, it was just brilliant. I think it was just a tiny section for Amiga at the end, because obviously this is the mid 90s, and yeah, it's just starting to get more for PlayStation, more for console, more for PC then. But it was good, and by when I got my PC, there was loads of gaming shops. Yeah, but then 2000s, I don't really know about much, because I had I think I got a by the time I had a PlayStation. No, I still had my PC. I had my PC. I remember still going into the game, or when a game was it Electronics Boutique. That's what it was known as before game. It was known as Electronics Boutique, if you remember that. I think that appeared in the 90s. Virgin Megastore, that was another one that sold games. Did HMV? I don't recall ever going into HMV buying games, but I know Virgin Megastore sold games. Remember going in there. Yeah, so it was pretty much me buying PC games at that point, until I got a PlayStation 2. Now I think obviously I bought that in the gaming shop. Bought that in the game. I think it was Game at that point. I bought it, PlayStation 2, and I bought a package, because everything, you know, these game shops were selling the consoles as well as games, anything to do with gaming. You know, it was a dedicated gaming shop. It was just gaming only. Yeah, remember that. And yes, I think now now it's like the 2010s came. You know, everything started to go digital. Downloads, you know, and you know, the gaming shops started to decline because no one was going in there. Everyone was going to be downloading digitally now. But I do miss the physical copies. I'd much rather have a physical copy than paying for a digital download any day. At least you can see what you bought, and you know, the first thing you're going to do, put a game in. Oh, it needs fucking updating. You know, I can see what is the fucking point of buying a physical copy. It's going to fucking need updating now anyway. So you just bought it and then you got to fucking update it. Oh, great. So you might as well just get the digital download, I suppose. But at least you've got something to look at. But I don't know. It's just I don't really like the way modern gaming's going, but you know, it's gonna happen. It's gonna happen. But I do miss the shops. You know, I do miss looking at those shops, especially in the 80s time when, you know, or you look at the box art. You know, it was just a great experience going. And the queues weren't no way as big what they were in the 90s and the 2000s. You know, because it was a big shop, and you know, I just I just remember that you don't get the cassette case and take it up to the counter, and they search for the cassette, see if they got it. It was the same with the Amiga when I had when I bought an Amiga, and I took the box to the counter, see if they got the disc behind the desk. Oh my god! And sometimes used to take ages for them to find it. Oh my god, those were the days. And yeah, you know, they sold Amigas in maybe I think it was department store once again, like Dixon's and stuff like that. Yeah, but they were good times. They were good times. I do miss the stores, going into the shops, just browsing around and just looking at the art. Oh yeah, that looks good. Yeah, I'll buy that. Yeah, but now it's like with everything now. The high street shops are just going because of online stores. They're just taking over everything. It's just more convenient now, isn't it? Just more convenient. Just look on your computer, or your tablet, or your smartphone. Oh, that looks good. Yep, yep. You know what the game's like because everyone's doing a review on it on YouTube or something like that. So you know how the game plays. So yeah, so it's pretty easy. Oh, I like that. Yeah, you just buy it. Digital download. You know, once you pay for it, you got it, but obviously you haven't got it because you've got to wait for the fucking thing to download. Yeah, but then you know you've got it. You know you got the code. You know you got it for life. But then you got to pay DLCs. That's something else we didn't have in our day. DLCs, downloadable content. Well, you didn't have the internet, so nah. Just if the game's broken, tough shit. That's what it is. Didn't have no patches or anything like that in the 80s or the 90s. You had to live with it. So yeah, I do miss the shops. You know, going to the shops, looking around for computer games. They were good times. But it's like everything. The world is changing. The world of gaming has changed, and it's only going to go digital. You know, and eventually you'll probably be streaming the game. You know, you don't have to worry about downloading it. There's probably be a massive server somewhere. All you do is just stream the game. You know, there's some server, yeah, you know what I mean. And you just pay. I think you'll be paying a monthly subscription soon anyway for, I don't know, to play whatever game you want. That'll probably be the future of gaming. Who knows? Who knows? I think technology now, who knows? Our gaming. I mean, virtual reality is another thing. Who knows what's going to happen in the future? I mean, graphics could be so real that you'll think it's real life. Who knows? Yeah, but unfortunately, the shops are dying now. The shops are dying. But then again, what can you do about it? This progression of technology, I guess. What do you think? Where was your favourite shops back in the day? I mean, do you remember Boots and WH Smith's where you were? Did they sell games at your WH Smith's and Boots? What other shops? Obviously in local newsagents. I remember Woolworths. That used to sell a few games. But I don't know, they never had a big selection. Wolves is gone now. That went about 10 years ago, didn't it? Heard recently they might be coming back. Who knows? Anyway, let's hear about your gaming shopping experience. Was it? Well, you must have enjoyed it. Well, I think I enjoyed it. I did enjoy it. Great memories. Anyway, I'm going to end this now. Thank you so much for watching. Till next time, and goodbye.